It was one of the most devastating events that took place in modern history. Much of America would wake up with confusion, followed by deep sadness and utter fear. Terrorists had done the unthinkable, and on American soil. Let's take a look back at the mind-blowing day that drastically changed the world. September 11th started off as just another typical morning for millions of New Yorkers. The sky was clear, the sun was shining, and the birds were out chirping. The residents of the Big Apple were simply carrying out their usual routines. Then at 8:46 the calmness abruptly stopped, and the streets would noticeably rumble. A large commercial airplane had just crashed into one of America's tallest and most recognizable landmarks. As everything happened in a blink of an eye, most people going about their day didn't witness the crash take place. But the thunderous impact would leave behind a massive hole in the top floors, accompanied by a large cloud of black smoke. It was very visible even from a great distance. Those inside the building were ordered to evacuate as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, for the people above the impact zone, there would be no way out for them. They were forced to remain subjected to the extreme heat and intense smoke until a possible rescue attempt. With the top half of the World Trade Center burning profusely, it didn't take long for the story to break worldwide. The catastrophic incident underway would force live morning programs on television to shift their focus.
It's developing right now here in New York City. A plane has crashed into one of the twin towers of the World Trade Center. You can see it now on the screen right there. And don't know what the intent was, whether it was deliberate or accidental, but there is a fire going on there. Bits of debris are falling down to the sidewalks below. It happened at 8:48, about 12 minutes ago. And so it's developing and will continue to develop all through the day.
And if you can see those bits of debris, they're large. If you can see it, it's large.
Yeah.
Because the World Trade Center is so immense and you can clearly see things falling.
A lot of speculation whether or not it was an accident or maybe a suicide bomber.
The speculation of it being accidental would quickly end, as millions watched another plane deliberately target the second skyscraper.
When something like this happens, it's such a mass destruction, you have to wonder about, of course, it looks like both buildings. That's both buildings.
More reports of a possible plane hijacking surfaced. The conversation quickly shifted to who was behind the attacks and questioned if there was more in store.
Today we've had a national tragedy. Two airplanes have crashed into the World Trade Center in an apparent terrorist attack on our country. I have spoken to the Vice President, to the Governor of New York, to the Director of the FBI, and have ordered that the full resources of the federal government go to help the victims and their families and to conduct a full-scale investigation to hunt down and to find those folks who committed this act.
Immediately after the speech from President Bush, the Pentagon, which is the headquarters of the United States Department of Defense, would be hit by a commercial airliner as well. The FAA immediately ordered all aircraft nationwide to land at the closest available airport after the third attack. A substantial amount of emergency responders were dispatched for those still trapped in the two buildings. Many victims no longer could deal with the extreme conditions and sadly decided to jump to their death. After burning for nearly 2 hours, millions watched as the South Tower collapsed in dramatic fashion.
Oh my God.
The streets became quickly filled with a thick cloud of dust from the pulverized concrete. Thousands ran away as quick as they could, but ultimately would be covered in the toxic materials and forced to inhale it all. Not long after the first tower went down, the remaining tower also would suffer the same fate.
And there's, you can see, perhaps the second tower, the front tower, the top portion of which is collapsing. Good Lord. There are no words. You can see large pieces of the building falling. You can see the smoke rising. You can see a portion of the side of the building now just being covered on the right side as I look at it, covered in smoke. This is just a horrific scene and a horrific moment.
The breaking news continued later in the morning as a new report of a fourth commercial plane had crashed. But unlike the 3 incidents prior, the airliner crashed in a remote area near Shanksville, Pennsylvania. The day of terrorism would conclude with yet another World Trade Center building collapsing from the ramifications. The sadness and despair had swept the nation as a whole. Families across the world still wondered if their loved ones were safe, or had they become a part of the collateral damage. For the following days after the attacks, thousands of ordinary citizens, along with rescue teams, began sifting through the rubble at Ground Zero, hoping to find survivors. Soon the intelligence agencies of the US would have more answers for the grieving Americans. The FBI had connected the dots of the well-calculated terrorism plan, and 19 mugshots of the alleged hijackers were shown to the public. They were a part of the extremist terrorist organization known as Al-Qaeda. In the wee hours of the morning, they all boarded the commercial flights used in the attacks, armed with box cutters, pepper spray, and small knives. After the planes were in the air, they took control of the flights, inducing great fear among the passengers and staff. The elaborate plan consisted of 4 designated hijackers, whom were trained to fly large commercial aircraft. All 19 members of the terrorist group were ready and willing to die to carry out the attack on America. While 3 of the 4 groups were successful in hitting their planned targets. Flight 93, on the other hand, would see an uprising from the passengers on board. Some received phone calls from concerned friends and family watching the news. Thus they became aware of the fatal intentions of the terrorist. The word had spread around the plane, and the passengers decided to courageously fight back and overwhelm the hijackers. Flight 93 was the only plane not to have crashed into a building that day, sparing the lives of hundreds if not thousands. The intense fires from the obliterated buildings would continue to burn for months. The estimated death toll from the shocking incident continued to be updated. There were nearly 2,800 victims from the World Trade Center attacks, including first responders. There were nearly 190 victims from the Pentagon attack, and 40 confirmed deceased passengers from Flight 93 that crashed in the field near Shanksville, Pennsylvania. A memorial was built on the sites, listing all the names of the victims. The United States security, as a reaction, began taking greater measures to ensure nothing like this ever happens again. What do you think about this story? And do you remember where you were on 9/11? Leave a comment below and let me know.